Okay, welcome everybody. I have done it once again. There was no countdown. Welcome to our viewers. And you will notice today, if you look on our screen, that I have got a special co-host. It's none other than Mr. David Morgan. And of course, our guest for today's show. Hello, David. It's good to have you. Do you want to pop in and say hello?
Lovely to be here again. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And we've got our amazing co-host who's going to be exploring the topic. What are we exploring today? It is going to be, what does impactful inclusion look like? And we're going to be revealing, our guest is going to be helping us to reveal 3 ways on how to become more inclusive to improve our CPD. Now, for those of you that haven't joined the show today, welcome to the We Are Careers show, which is your fortnightly snippet of useful and helpful content to help you enhance and develop your continuous professional development. Now, make sure you stay tuned till the end, because we've got some great CDI news stories chosen by none other than the CEO of the CDI, David, and then we've also got some great general news stories about what's happening in the sector. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm known as Sabiha, and I work as an international career coach, helping professionals get unstuck and get back into career flow without the stress. I also happen to be the creator of the I Am Thriving Career Coaching Program, where I work with international coaches to help them create even more impactful and enhance their transformation for the clients that they serve. Now, thank you for joining us today. And for those regular viewers, you will know that we like to spend the first part of the show really celebrating the amazing work that is done by individuals and organizations within the sector and beyond. And each week we like to select some amazing feel-good news stories, because there's enough doom and gloom out there in the world, to really highlight and celebrate some of these sort of amazing stories. So, David, I'm going to hand over to you now, and just introduce yourself, let people know who you are, for maybe those viewers that have never met you before and are hearing from you for the first time, and then we'll move on to the careers cheers section of the show.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, thanks, Sabiha, and it's great to be back co-presenting with you. Can't replace Chris, but I'll do my best to fill some of the void. Hello, everyone. I'm David Morgan. I'm the Chief Executive of the Career Development Institute, and I'm delighted to be here today with today's focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion, following the work the CDI has been doing over the past 18 months or so. This is a hugely important topic, and it's great that we're exploring key aspects of it today. And you can join in the conversation, you can comment on the discussion, you can share your views, and Sabiha will be picking those up and sharing those with us. And any questions you've got, we can pick up as well. And we hope you really enjoy the show today. And remember to hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching it on, so you can watch all the future shows as well. Later on, I've got 3 great CDI updates for you, including the CDI AGM, the Summit Conference, and the new top-up training for careers leaders. And stay tuned, of course, for the inspirational ideas for your CPD and industry updates from Sabiha. So fantastic. But first, the careers cheers. So fantastic opportunity to recognise a few people and shout out our fellow professionals. And I'd like to do it slightly differently today. So on the CDI Community of Practice Facebook group, on the second Friday of each month, they run the hashtag Careers Impact Friday. And it's really a chance for people to share their careers impact stories, showing the impact they've had with clients. So I just wanted to share 3 of the stories that were posted in October's Careers Impact Friday. First is from Liz Reese. She shared some lovely feedback from a client from 20 years ago. So they were a client 20 years ago and they've now retired, and they got in touch with Liz and said that she'd really helped her transition from teaching to scientific research. And the client said she still often thinks of Liz with enormous gratitude. And she said, I often tell people one of the best presents I ever had was a consultation you offered me. So you can't get more glowing than that. The second one was posted by Carolyn Parry, who's the CDI president. She shared a testimonial from a client who said he'd had the most amazing support, and her advice and no-nonsense approach gave him confidence and helped him during his entire career, including more recently taking a year out of work in order to study and gain further skills. And finally, Mary Fudge posted her careers impact story of supporting a refugee from East Africa who arrived with no paperwork for her nursing qualification. Now, she shouldn't have been accepted on courses, but Mary championed her and got her into college to do an access to nursing course. And now that client is studying at a top London university. So these are three fantastic and very different examples that show the value that these careers professionals individually added, but they also demonstrate the breadth and depth of the impact of the careers profession on people's lives. So look out for the careers impact on the second Friday of each month on Facebook group, or share your own story using the hashtag on social media posts. So hashtag careers impact. It'd be fantastic to hear those stories and to keep sharing the fantastic work that everyone does.
Oh, some great stories. And David, I'm just going to sort of kind of pick up, why do you feel so passionate about this, about celebrating this amazing work? And like you said, such a breadth and depth of diversity of different sort of impact that these professionals have had. Why is it so important to you as CEO of the CDI?
It's I think it's important in a number of ways. The first is this is a very caring profession, and it's very focused on helping other people. And we sometimes forget that we need to help ourselves as well. And by sharing these stories, I think it helps everyone individually feel the value that we add, and reminds us of the value we add as a profession. So I think they're really valuable to share. And sometimes we're a bit over modest as a profession, but we should be sharing these not to show off, but to demonstrate the impact. So I'll give you an example. I talk to people about the career development profession, and their eyes glaze over a little bit sometimes. I think a lot of people I've spoken to said, you're in the pub and you say I'm a careers advisor, and you get that, but if you tell the story, and I've had examples where I've told other people's stories about a careers intervention they've had with someone, and that person's nearly in tears. So what we do is deeply emotional, it's really engaging, it's vitally important to the people we help with, but it's also really valuable for us as a profession to get across, not so much describing what we do, the functional things we do, but actually the impacts, the stories we have with people, because it really engages people and it completely changes their view of what we are about as a profession. So that's why I find it so important and so keen to have these impact stories.
I love that. And I really resonate with that as obviously a practicing professional in the sector, but also as well, just it's about the storytelling as well. And I believe, for viewers, join in the conversation, let us know, is what David just shared with us all now resonating with you? Do you feel the same way? Or maybe perhaps you don't. Maybe perhaps you have a different viewpoint. Of course, we always want to hear from you. So please do use that chat comment on whatever platform that you're watching and join in the conversation. And speaking of joining into the conversation, and we're going to be heading into the topic very shortly, it's great to see David Morgan, Ifza, and Sabiha. Really looking forward to hearing about superb EDI strategy. So I'm just going to put that up on screen. And so, without further ado, let's get stuck into today's topic. So today's topic is about impactful inclusion. And following the launch of last month's CDI Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Strategy, today's show is all about embracing equality, inclusion and diversity in career development, and especially what each of us can do to make the profession more inclusive. So do drop in the chat. How do you create a more inclusive environment for your colleagues as well as for your clients? And so before we go into the questions that we have for you today, Ifza, could you please share with the audience a brief summary of who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into the EDI strategy.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the show. My name's Ifza Shakoor. I'm the CDI's EDI Associate, and I've been in role for coming up to 19 months this month. And I'm a final year PhD decolonial academic student. Okay, sorry, Sabiha, what was the second part? I've kind of forgotten that.
Oh, that's okay. It happens to the best of us. So talk about, just share with us what work you're doing, and tell us a little bit, to kind of give us a little bit of a tease of what the EDI strategy is, and then we'll get into more details about what that looks like and what members can expect.
Okay, thank you for that. So the EDI strategy has been something completely innovative. The way that we've done it, the way that we've listened to our members, to non-members, to stakeholders, we've had lots and lots of input. It's been more listening, and Dave and I have been the facilitators that have put it together along with everyone that's had input with it. And we got everyone's ideas, listened to them, and put together a 3-year plan. And that's what we're talking about how our CDI members can be involved in making it come to life.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So that's little snippets. If that's piqued your interest, viewers, if you're now thinking, oh, this sounds something right up my street, I'd like to know more. David, what are some of the questions that we want to put to Ifza today?
Yeah, grand. Yeah, so a huge amount of work's gone into this, and I've got to say thank you to Ifza for driving this forward. I've supported. We've had input from lots of other people. And as she said, we've been worked very hard to get lots of different voices involved in this. But now we have a strategy. We've launched it along with Steph Ricks, our board director, who's championed it. So Ifza, now that the strategy's in place, and you could probably ask me this, but I'm going to ask you, now the strategy's in place, what are the CDI going to do? So what new initiatives can members expect?
We're going to be listening. So what we're going to be doing is more collaboration and outreach. We want members to come along to us, to David, to myself, to anybody in the CDI and say, I've got an idea about EDI. This is what I want to talk about. I've got a topic. I want to share that information. And we want to give that permanent platform for voices to be heard through webinars, through articles, which we've already been doing for our lunchtime chat shows, through the articles that I signpost over to Ollie, and he always graciously accepts. And we're also going to be launching more support mechanisms in place to support all aspects of EDI, whether that's menopause, whether that's age or gender or faith or ethnicity. And then we're just going to be highlighting more diverse role models and making it truly transformative and not just surface level. So we've gone beyond that. And we're also hoping to collaborate with the stakeholders. So we're quite lucky in the fact that we've had stakeholder engagement where we've had the big players in career development come along to our consultations for the strategy, and now because of that we're going to have EDI focused meetings across all 4 nations, so that's quite exciting.
Fantastic. And yeah, and it permeates in lots of different ways, doesn't it? So we've got the overall strategy around welcome, encourage and enable, looking at how we help those already working within career development feel more welcome, how we encourage people to join the profession from more diverse backgrounds, and how we kind of start tackling some of those barriers. But it permeates down in lots of different ways. So just to give one example, we've changed the way we do our recruitment. Some feedback from particularly people who are neurodiverse, that it can be challenging sometimes when you get an interview question cold and it's hard to perform to your best. So there's a number of organisations give out the questions beforehand, and we had some debate about this because does that advantage or disadvantage people differently. So our last round of recruitment for the 3 different jobs, we sent all the interview questions to every candidate, and the feedback generally was really positive from everyone, and it made the recruitment really effective. But it's a way of looking at, well, what's the EDI need, and how do you turn that into something you can do as a standard for everyone, and that levels the playing field. So there's lots of little examples like that. So thank you.
And I believe as well, I'm just going to kind of come in there, Ifza, as well, that there's also going to be you mentioned a few areas about community engagement, sort of collaboration and outreach. But I also believe as well that there's going to be yearly sort of action plans. Right. So if you could, share with the viewers a little bit about what that is and how that will look like.
Absolutely. So we want EDI embedded in everything. It's not an add-on at the CDI. It is absolutely transformative. It's embedded within everything that the CDI are now doing. And it's not just words on a paper, it's reflective where we're going to listen. So we've got the big listen survey coming up. So each year we use that as a baseline to begin assessing where we are at that moment in time and using that to update the strategy as we go on. And we're keeping members informed. We've realized that dialogue is so important. So we've got open dialogue, open communication, and we want people to be able to come to David, to myself, to any member, any person working in the CDI and come and say, these are the issues, this is what I want done. And then we actually listen and hopefully support people in that as much as we can.
Excellent. And so then that really nicely sort of kind of brings me on to sort of another question that we had as well. And I'm just going to bring in some comments that are coming in through the group. So thank you for joining in. And by the way, you have both David and Ifza here today. I mean, I couldn't have done any better. We are missing Chris, of course, and he'll be back in the next show. But in the meantime, I've got these two amazing people who are doing great work on behalf, with all the CDI for its membership. And so if you have any questions for either of them, please do join in the conversation. I've got here a Facebook user saying, or I'm just going to bring it up on screen. Great example with changes in CDI recruitment practices. So you're getting a thumbs up there, David and Ifza. Clearly people are liking this. And as you say, it's good to experiment with these things and see how they go. And also as well, somebody else just came in earlier to say, thrilled to hear #careers impact stories from our focus here on the COP. So getting some smiley faces there as well. And so, Ifza, back to you on this question and the question is this: how can career development professionals, because I think it's so easy to just go, oh, well, it's your job because you're the ED specialist, or if you have a person in an organization, and to sort of kind of almost disassociate yourself from involving yourself in sort of kind of equality, diversity, inclusion, sort of good practice. So how can career development professionals act as allies and champions for equality, diversity and inclusion, ensuring not just equitability, access to opportunities, but also fostering a culture where diverse talents are celebrated and amplified?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So the first thing that I would say is self-education. So looking at yourself, looking at your biases, look at the theories that you're using, and updating constantly, staying up to date with the latest theories, the latest models, and so on, and also engaging with other people that are diverse, that may not look like you or sound like you. So getting as much access to a diverse pool, and active listening. Don't just listen to respond back to somebody, but listen for the sake of listening. Listen to what they're saying, and listen so that you can hear where they're coming from, because then that makes you more gives you more empathy. It makes you understand where the other person's point of view. Then inclusive guidance as well. I would say develop and provide guidance materials that cater to a wide range of clients, and ensuring that everything's accessible. So like David said about that recruitment example, given the questions beforehand, weighing up whether it's going to have more benefits than negatives and so on, and just weighing up what you're doing and how it benefits everyone. Then collaborative networks. Collaborate with people that you wouldn't normally work with, spotlight and share best practice. So I share career stories, but everyone can be doing that. It's not just on certain people, because you've got that EDI role. It's not just your responsibility or my responsibility or David's or anybody's. It's everyone's, and this is a key point. Without everyone getting involved, it's still only surface level. So we need everyone to actively get involved and actively listen, actively engage, actively give feedback, and actively update their own thinking and their own mindset as well. And then mentorship as well. Can you mentor anybody if you've got privilege? So I've put up an article on LinkedIn about privilege. Assess yourself. I've got privilege in the fact that I can speak up about certain issues when other people may not be able to because of the position that I'm in. I recognize that. I also recognize my own biases. So what I do is I provide mentorship to people that need it and come along and say, can I get some support of this? And I all say yes. When I've got open door policy, perhaps see if you can support somebody in mentoring them, and then safe spaces. Make sure that it's safe, psychologically safe. You have to ensure when you're speaking about EDI, sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable because EDI is real life. It's not concepts. It's not just words on a paper. It links to everything. It's social justice. It's the media, real life events, whatever's happening in real life, you cannot separate from EDI. So I would say, make sure you have a safe space and ensure that you are supporting people all the way throughout their journey. Celebrate diversity and collaborate. Write articles, share your best practice. Use that hashtag that you mentioned earlier to share career stories and then change that stereotype of the profession being nice little old ladies in cardigans, as I'm quoting from my director of studies, Siobhan Neary, from her work. Change that stereotype so that people can see we are a professional, caring, nurturing workforce, which is what everyone is anyway.
Some great points there. Which one of those viewers resonated with you? Perhaps one more than the other. Maybe perhaps one is easier to do than some of the others that sort of Ifza have shared with us. I mean, each of them has validity and strength. And I can see how, sort of, whether that's around self-education. And I love the fact that you started with self-education, that, putting the onus and responsibility individually, because that's within our power. That's something that we can do. And then sort of kind of, challenging biases, encouraging collaboration, thinking about, for me, that sort of safe space psychologically. Because sometimes we think, oh, well, this is a safe physical space, a room. However, are we creating a safe space, sort of kind of psychologically for that person to be able to feel safe to open up and talk about what is on their mind, whatever that issue challenge may be. So, some really great points there. And once again, viewers, join in with the conversation. We love hearing your views. Now, David, I know you've got another question for Ifza as well. So what did you want to put to Ifza?
Yeah, I think you've covered this to a degree already, Ifza, but you talked about inclusion, EDI being everyone's responsibility, making sure people feel included. So what can everyone listening today, what kind of 3 things could they take away and do tomorrow, whether it's joining webinars or whatever, what could they do that they could take away today?
Okay, the first thing I'd say is engage with the strategy. So make sure you look at it, the one pager, the infographic. We've tried to make it as accessible as possible. So have a look at the CDI website, engage. If you think something's missing, let us know and we'll see what we can do about it. If you think that something's done really well, please share it, talk about it on social media, use LinkedIn, use Twitter, use Facebook. And just engage, talk about it with other people, what you think is good about it, what you think could be improved. We're always open to feedback. It's never the finished product with us. Then give feedback on what's missing or any barriers that you might face that we've maybe haven't covered or haven't been able to, because we are limited by time. And then support with webinars. So if you think something's missing, if you think you're skilled with that aspect, like for example, let's say menopause, if you think that you can share something about it that we may not have been able to, please do use that information. Use your own information and your knowledge and whatever you bring to the table and come along and share with other people. Message me and say, hi, Ifza, I'd like to do a webinar on XYZ, and I'll make sure it happens. Let's all work together on this, because without everyone getting involved in EDI, it just stays at the top level. We need it embedded in every single level within this sector.
Yeah, and just to briefly add, we have 2 webinars, don't we, Ifza?
That leads me on to my next point. So the 10th. There you go. So next week on Friday on the 10th, and then the following week on the 17th, we've got 2 webinars coming up. So I can put the link. Sabiha, if I put the link into the chat, would you be able to share that, please?
I can do.
Find out more. We're going to give a special insight with myself, David, and Steph as well coming along, I think.
And what can people expect? So now that we know that there's these workshops, opportunities for people to engage coming up, what can people expect at those sessions?
To hear more about how the EDI strategy was developed, to hear our underlying motives and intentions, and also a little bit more about what we've touched upon here, but in more detail. So, and then question time as well, so you can actually ask us questions and give feedback there and then, so it's not just an email, and you can engage with others.
And who should attend? Who should
everyone.
Everyone.
Who shouldn't attend is a question.
I like that. I like that. And then I just want to bring in, because we've had a Facebook user share a comment. So I just want to bring that in. And by the way, for those of you watching, at the bottom of the screen, I've put Ifza's LinkedIn. I know that's the platform she loves to engage with people on. But check that out. Take a screenshot of it, or just sort of kind of go on to LinkedIn, put her name in, and she will pop up. And then you can send that request to become friends with her and start engaging with her as well. And so this is a question that's just sort of kind of been suggested. And I want to put it to, I think it's you first, and then David, I'll bring you into this as well, because I think you have a different perspective. I think you'll have some really useful and different perspectives to bring in as well. And this is what the Facebook user has to say. I've been listening to recent debates about keeping AI under control, and a new perspective and concern relates to our focus today. Algorithms may reduce EDI and discriminate. So we also have to challenge how any AI information we generate delivers. So what do you have to say about that? What are your thoughts on that? If I come to you first, and then I'll come to David next.
Absolutely. So AI 100% has got biases because it gets the information from the internet, and we know that the internet is not without its flaws. So anything that you take or use from AI, use it with a pinch of salt and just verify your sources. Go back to the original as you would anyway with anything, and see where it's coming from. I've written an article about media propaganda and bias. That's quite a good one because it's got practical tools for you to begin unpicking the media, but I have got one on AI coming up quite soon, so keep an eye out.
Excellent. So I love the fact that you're also thinking about this, as is our viewer, and coming up with answers and solutions and tips and hacks of how people can challenge that. David, how about for you? What are your thoughts and perspective on this?
This is an aspect of AI we've been talking about for a little while. It's the same with any form of automation. So you look at automated recruitment processes, and they can deliberately or inadvertently build in biases. So I had an example from a large corporate. They were talking about how they encourage more people who haven't got degrees to get employment in their organisations. And one of the chief execs of one organisation came back and said, I've only found out because I've asked the question that we automatically strip anyone out who doesn't have A-levels, who doesn't have 3A grade A-level. It's just no one knew it was built into the system. So the risk with AI is that's buried even deeper, or it's using data to come up with assumptions. So the example I give, which is only one, but is because it's using data that exists and data historically, if you don't counteract it, so you could have an example where, say, a young black woman is looking at what she should go into for a career, that's going to look at data where young black women tend to do better in careers. So it may push demographically down towards a carer kind of career rather than a science career. But that individual may go, but I'm really interested in science. But the data is going to mean the algorithm is pointing in one direction, which reinforces the bias. So you can counteract it by making sure the rules are right and that you're building in those layers. But what we need to do as a profession is ensure that we're raising that as a concern and a voice to say, no, you've got to make sure you're counteracting biases and you're looking beyond those to say, well, what's that individual interested in? So it can be really powerful. It can be really useful. I think our view is it's always something that's going to augment practice. It's going to be something that sits alongside it and helps the practitioner rather than replace it. And that having that human involved is always important. But it is one of those things. There's a lot of focus on AI, as there was on automation and so on. And we've just got to make sure that what's built recognizes the individuality and recognizes the need to not just say what's obvious from previous data, but what might be, and give people that opportunity.
Some great points there. So I'm hoping, viewer, did that sort of bringing a different perspective? Are you hearing things that you like, that your ears are liking to hear, or was there something else that you would have liked to have heard? If so, you can see on the screen there, because as always, we're almost out of time now, and we're going to sort of kind of head into the news section very shortly. But before we do, for those of you that are interested, you'll see a link that's at the bottom of the screen right now about the different webinars/workshops that are coming up in November that Ifza, David and the team and Steph are going to be involved in. So please do. So whether it's an AI related question or it's a more sort of different topic or challenge that you want to sort of explore with the team, and please do sign up for them. So Ifza, as I say, we're almost out of time, a few minutes left before we wrap up the show. What are your final thoughts? What sort of kind of key points or tips or kind of even food for thought that you want to leave with the viewers today?
Just to emphasize that EDI, again, is everyone's responsibility. It's not just a concept or a theory. It is real life. It is what you see out there happening at this moment in time. So even if you look at what's happening in the world at the moment, everything links back to EDI. There's no way you can unlink real life events to EDI, including your daily life, your work life, what's happening on the other side of the world. Everything links in, because if we want to make this workforce and the world truly inclusive, we need to challenge our own biases. We need to challenge our viewpoint, our starting point, and begin educating ourselves. So start reading up on diverse stories on different sources, and just begin engaging with people that you may not normally engage with, and begin widening that network.
Excellent. And there you have it, folks. That's everything for today. As we wrap up the main part of the show, we're going to head in now to the news section. So I want to thank Ifza for joining David and I today and sharing with us the CDI strategy. You've got information of where you can now go to download it, as well as information about how you can engage practically. That's the thing that I love about this strategy is that isn't just a static document that's going to now collect dust on Ifza's beautiful bookshelves as she's at university right now. This is actually going to be a working document where they are open and keen to hear voices and experiences from people. So thank you so much. So now, without further ado, we are going to head on. It's time for the latest news stories from the CDI and the wider careers sector. So David, what stories did you pick for us today?
I've got 3 from the CDI news desk. First is the CDI AGM. It's being held on Monday, the 27th of November at 3:30, being held online. It's available for anyone who's a CDI member. It's your chance to join the CDI board and me for our annual general meeting, reviewing the organisation's performance for the year to the end of March 23. It's a member-only event, and it's an excellent opportunity to hear about the organisation from the CDI leadership, raise any questions you've got, and you can find details on the website. Second is our summit and conference, so on the 4th and 6th of December. So the summit is for anyone who's interested in strategic direction of career development, as we're exploring the changing world of work and the implications for our profession. So we've got keynote talks, we've got roundtable discussions, panels to explore 3 key themes: the future world of work, the future skills required, something like that, the changing workforce, and the impact of an AI net zero economy. And we've got fantastic keynote speakers from within and outside the profession. We've got expert panels, and it's that roundtable element to it. So that's the 4th of December in Birmingham. Then the conference is online on the 6th of December. It's a fantastic CPD opportunity. We've got up to 28 workshops covering every aspect of career development. This is a once-a-year opportunity to bring all of the career development sector together, because there's something for everyone. It's being held online, and we kept the price down to only £50 for CDI members for a day CPD, so we can get as many people accessing CPD and this event as possible. So check out both events on the CDI website. And finally, really pleased that the CDI were chosen by the Careers and Enterprise Company to deliver the Careers Leader top-up training, which you can book now. So anyone who trained as a careers leader before January 2020 can have this additional training to enhance their operational and strategic skills and knowledge. It's fully funded by the CEC, and there's a £500 bursary for everyone who completes the course. So check it out on the CDI website and book via the CEC. So that's the CDI news. How about the broader careers news?
Oh, well, thank you. And do you know what? I've so many of those stories that you just shared. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, make a note. And it's just nice to be hearing them again. It's always good to be reminded, especially with so many of us with so many busy sort of schedules. So I've been really fortunate that Chris produces this amazing, and in fact, I'm going to put it on. So point number 1, okay, is if you haven't already, okay, and if you are looking for a sort of kind of simple and easy and something that doesn't consume your time too much, because Chris does all the hard work for us professionals, he has produced this amazing newsletter. It's called The Week in Careers, and he normally publishes it on a Friday. And the great thing about it is that he jam-packed it with just some amazing stories and tips and hacks around about what's happening in the wider community. So the link is on the screen below. So if you haven't already subscribed, I think he's got already like 3,000 plus now followers that are reading the newsletter on a weekly basis. So that's kind of tip number 1 for the wider community of where can you go? Because I know for a lot of you, people come up to me and say to me, oh, Sabiha, I don't have time. I'm time poor. I've got so much going on at work. I've got so much going on outside of work. Where can I go to find, sort of kind of accredited sort of quality content, not just sort of kind of stuff that we don't know whether or not we can trust the source of. And I haven't got time to kind of verify and check. This is a place that I would recommend and I personally use as well. And so speaking of which, what were some of the stories that were being shared this week? So there was the Jam-Packed Best of the Rest, which this week features a really insightful podcast about ADHD. So for those of you that are working, and I felt it was quite relevant to the theme and subject that we're talking about here today about inclusion and diversity, you've got ADHD Awareness Month. and from the Uni Guide podcast. So a big shout out to Tim R and John Cheek, who sort of kind of talk about this podcast. And you can follow them on LinkedIn and various other sites as well. And then sort of kind of the final story that I have today is, before we wrap up for today, is there is the government, UK government-led AI Summit. Again, something that we've talked about here today, about how do we make AI more ethical. And so it's an opportunity to reflect on where the career development community is currently at and where it goes to generate AI, including, you know, sort of, and Chris has included 3 really practical examples of AI tools that we can use as career professionals. And so that's it for the news section. That's it for the show. I want to thank David. He's been an amazing co-host. Wouldn't you agree, people? He's been absolutely fantastic. Really kind of stepped into those shows. I've just got somebody here as well that's just saying, and I'm going to put this on screen, thank you so much for a great show. We're fortunate to have these focused CPD opportunities with amazing input and colleagues. So definitely both of you are getting some love there from the viewership today. And then what all that left now to share is the next week's show that we have, which is in 2 weeks' time, which is taking place on the 12th. We are going to be exploring the following topic. I'm just going to put it on screen for us. And we are going to be joined by the amazing Carla Hoff from Lightcast, and we're going to be looking at how do we do LMI differently. So that's it, folks. That's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. David, your final thoughts before we sign off?
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you to Ifza for a huge amount of work on the CDI EDI strategy. Not the easiest thing to say. And I hope everyone takes the opportunity to get involved and we make the profession the most inclusive place we can. Thank you. And Ifza, final thoughts, any comment?
Yeah, just a massive thank you. Thank you to everyone for engaging with the CDI EDI strategy. David, I think I've got the hang of it now. And yeah, just a massive thank you. We wouldn't be where we are today without the members, without everyone that engaged, non-members, the stakeholders. So I just want to say a massive shout out and thank you to everyone for engaging with it. It's been amazing and it's been a very transformative journey, which we hope to continue.
Excellent. That's all, folks. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.